Instagram is full of useful, quick and easy tricks to apply in our renovations. Today I'm going to react to these tricks that my father has sent me, and thus I show them to you. I believe it will be beneficial and educational for us. Let's begin and see what happens. The first one, from what I see, is when a pipe breaks and a part of this pipe remains inside. Of course, it's hard to remove because you need the thread, so I find it very interesting to take 2 screws, put them in and start turning them. I think it's a very good option. It can happen a lot. In fact, it has happened to us more than once that you are trying to remove a piece and suddenly it breaks. Well, look, it would be a very good solution. In this same video, it teaches another thing, and that is when it doesn't fit well. To place the Teflon between one joint and the other, normally when we have to make splices between one piece and another, Teflon is placed on it. And sometimes it's hard to access, especially in terms of bathrooms that are so close to the wall. Well, I think this is a very good idea, what you're doing, and choosing the Teflon, moving it to another area, let's say for example to a pencil, and then turning it directly from the same pencil. This way we can do it much faster and it's much more comfortable when applying it, rather than having to be there with the Teflon doing tricks and within what fits this Teflon. This roll is small because I have others that are larger rolls and you can't access, and I think it's a very good option. The next one is kind of heating the area, and what it does is take plastic accessories and put them on, and when it's hot they mark the area, and you can take advantage of these same elements with the same type of closure, so to speak. I think it's a super good idea in case we bought these tubes or these accessories and we wanted to screw them on in some way and we couldn't. I think it's an excellent option. Let's watch the next video. She's taking a blade and screwing it to a piece of wood and using it to turn. I think it's a brilliant idea. I think this is a very good idea, and I'm going to tell you why, because we've had quite a few problems with this issue. And it's, for example, to install recessed lights in a plasterboard ceiling, the typical downlights. Sometimes it's very difficult to fit them in because you have to make the perfect circle. And if we don't have the same measurement with some kind of cut, it's harder to fit. What do we usually do? Well, there's a little trick, which is to take a pencil and a string and start winding it around so it becomes round. But it is true that sometimes the pencil can move a little bit and then the circle deviates. With this method, by screwing it in, I think it's a great idea to leave a hole and then place our light fixture. Very good. I think it's a total success. Let's see the next one. He's cutting with a regular strip and it leaves the edge chipped. This happens to me a lot. What he does is pass the cutter over at first and then cuts it with the strip. The truth is, if it works, it's great. This trick here in the video looks super good. I have to try this. Because certainly sometimes when you cut with a strip, especially if it's rather worn out, the cutting blade leaves a lot. It leaves the wood bad, it leaves the wood very bad. So I have to try it, pass the cutter and then pass the strip to see if it works, because it would seem great to me. The next one is screwing in a hook that is used for post-its, and this is a super good idea. And she sets up a carpenter's ruler. They usually sell this. In fact, it's a specific ruler where you can adjust the diameter and then the ruler helps you make one cut or another or make marks. But this homemade ruler seems to me a phenomenal invention if we want to save a little money, because these rulers are worth a little money. And besides, it's practical and comfortable. I think it's a very good idea. Very good. The next thing she's doing is applying, I don't know if it's glue or silicone. Wow, this is very good. This is very good. She applies the silicone. It's probably silicone. And as usual, there are blobs and it overflows. And if we do it with our finger, it doesn't come out completely smooth. Let's put it that way. She runs a piece of plastic over the top. It comes out perfect, but also on the way back, it picks up all the excess. So it comes out immaculate. I think it's a great idea. This, for example, is done a lot in kitchens, the countertop with a wall, or we could also find it a lot on the baseboards. When we apply a row of silicone or polyurethane putty on the top part, it doesn't usually turn out well, so we have to try this seemingly good option. The next thing he's doing is this, okay? This is one way to do it. A micro cement countertop, he's placing mesh, then he puts the cement and leaves a hole with a kind of polystyrene. And then he can fit the sink like that. I think it's very beautiful and I love it. So I have to do it in some renovation for sure. I think I've seen this other one before. This one is very good. If you make a straight line on the wall and mark where the holes are in our frame, then you put this mark that we have made on the straight line and put in the screws. Well, in this case, you will screw it in because it will be a material that needs to be screwed in, but normally you would have to drill the holes, put in the plug, and then screw it in. The frame is now perfectly straight. This technique works great for hanging pictures and even furniture. In fact, I have to tell something that I think we have never said before. Hanging a piece of furniture in the new downstairs bathroom was challenging due to the predefined holes on the back, making it difficult to align properly. We measured from the back, transferred it to the wall, but it didn't end up perfectly straight. We tried again, and in the end, one hole was a bit off to the side. It didn't fit. Well, it was awful. This goes right where the hole is, and I think it's a great option for marking. Not only pictures, as I tell you, but also furniture, shelves, and everything. Let's see the next one. This other one is installing the hinge on the kitchen door, and it comes out probably because the holes are already worn out. Well, what he does is place this little piece of wood, which are the dowels, and then he uses this same wood to screw it in. I think it's a very good option. If we have any piece of furniture, not necessarily kitchen furniture in this case, it would serve us then to place a dowel in the hole, making it a little bit bigger and screwing it back in. A very good option. The important thing is the glue to make sure the dowel stays well attached. This other one, which is one's reaction to a video, is my third reaction to this video, isn't it? It's the second reaction to this video in this video. And what it's doing is dividing this frame into lines, and then it cuts it with two of the lines and gets the perfect angle. This does work. I also think it is. Let's go. I mean, the greatest achievement of life, because look how hard it is to get it right and to make perfect angles that fit. We can use this in many things. For example, miters are used in baseboards, in creating a frame, in making furniture, in making legs, in creating a table, in putting on moldings. In other words, this would be useful for practically everything. I think it's a great idea, and now, as soon as the video is over, I'm going to try it. The next one, the woods just don't seem to fit. So he's making two marks. This logically we could deduce is completely mitered, and then he continues making marks. To achieve the rounded part, he crosses out the parts he has to cut. This is very important, and then it fits perfectly for the tube. This would also be great for baseboards, which often we find problems with on the floor, especially caused by the issue of radiators. Here he is cutting a piece of tube, and he is putting a sandpaper on it. He puts it with several accessories and places it in a drill, and thus he can use it to sand. This accessory is likely already for sale, but if we want to make it at home comfortably and quickly, it's possible. Hey, there's nothing simpler and more economical than this, nothing to it. What he's doing is nailing a blade to a piece of wood, which in this case could be the blade that we would have, for example, in a box cutter, and he uses it to clean the profiles, and I think this is also a very good option. It would be a bit of the style that we have seen before, in which he screws it in and makes the hole. Well, in this case, it would be to clean the profiles. And for wood or plastic, this other one here could work very well for us. He takes a dowel, puts a tie inside it, and places it on the wall, but without the tie to veil, because then he screws the tie in to be able to guide the pipes in the direction you want, and I think this is a very good idea. For example, if we have a pipe, especially outside, that sometimes are not covered, we need to give it a specific shape, but we can always attach it to the wall. I believe it's a great invention. In this, we see that it cannot. Is this that I didn't understand? Try to put the pen on it and it doesn't reach. Then he grabs a jar where there probably was something before, and it's like flish. So he's making like a mix of several things. He mixes it a little and throws in the flish dam. This is a very good idea. I like this. When I run out of the flish jar, I'm going to use it to make this mix. And then when you have to mark a hole, well, you just throw it and there you have it. I'm keeping this one and I'm definitely going to use it. This other one uses a machine. I suppose it's for marking the dowels. I don't know. Okay. These accessories are used to make the screws. I saw this when I was taking the woodworking course to create furniture. They told us about this option, and it's very simple because when you make the hole with the drill, it already marks it for you. This is like a guide, just like that. Then, when you screw it in, it's already perfect and you can create a piece of furniture in a much simpler way. And this would be a little example of the machine. Now he screws it in, and then on the inside, let's say the holes are left, he puts in a dowel, covers it. And we can now create, well, our furniture, our shelf, or even, well, a little square that we can then put on the wall as decoration, as if it were a kind of shelf. I also find it very useful, and I had seen this machine, but I find it very interesting to use it. I have to buy one, right? Next, I took the paint can, broke a piece of the bottle, and I'm placing it on top. And with the hot air gun, she is fusing it with the metal and thus can control the amount that comes out. Wow, because this is a very good idea. By closing it later with the cap, the paint does not dry. However, we must keep in mind that not even a tiny bit can be left in the air, because if it is not completely stuck, the paint is likely to spoil. But I think it's a very, very good option, not so much for the precision in pouring it, but rather for being able to close it and put a cap on it very well. I don't know what this is. What is it doing? He has divided the plasterboard structure into 2 parts and is pulling out like wings and screwing it. Ah, very good. I think it's a good option for setting up a structure. However, I'm not sure if it would work for the floor if we don't want to make a structure for it. I have my doubts, but maybe it's not entirely correct. I don't know. But to set up a structure, for example, for a kitchen and then put some plates or wood on top of it, if we want to screw it here, well, I think it could be a very good option to have a more solid and firmer structure. This will be the final trick we'll analyze. If you enjoy these videos, feel free to mention it in the comments. We'll do more with the interesting things they send me and we'll see it. This one is very good, huh? She takes the compass and goes marking all the cornice that the ceiling has, and thus she is marking just the drawing. I find it super interesting. In fact, the other day I saw something that seemed surprising to me, because I saw a ceiling that was made of stone and they had cut just the glass that they had fitted to the size of the stone, and I found it incredible. And this would be a very good solution to get to do something like this. If we have cornices on the ceilings, or if we have something on the floor that influences us when placing something,
we can mark and duplicate this piece simply with a compass.
I find it very interesting, and with this inspiring video we say goodbye. I hope you found this useful. If so, please like the video. See you in upcoming videos.